Hey, good morning, friends. Hey, Kristen, good morning. Linda, how are you? Good to see you. Amy from North Carolina. Awesome. Hope you guys are making good time and everything's going well. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, John. Hope you're doing all right. Things are well in your world. Great to see you. Good morning, friends. Good morning. Hello, Sharon. Great to see you. Yvette, good morning. Hello, Donna. Hello, everybody. Hello, everyone. So glad everybody's here. This coming in this morning. Hope it's going. Less than an hour from South Carolina, the Palmetto State. Oh yeah. Good morning, Audrey. How are you? Good to see you here. How was everyone? Kim Luce, how are you this morning? So nice to hear from you. Glad you're here. Cecile, how are you? Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's well. Oh, it's great to see you. How are things this morning? Let me know. Another minute or so for folks to come on in. So glad you're here. Doing well. That's great to hear. Joe wants tacos at south of the border. Who doesn't want tacos at south of the border? I mean, come on. You know, they're tacos. Uh, so glad you're good, Kim. Really, that's great. So, how is everybody? Looking good. It is a good day. Well, welcome everybody. It is. We'll get going here. It is the doing well. AC on and fans keeping cool. Very good. I hope everybody's keeping cool in these days. That you're finding some ways to make it through the heat. And last night here, we all need some vitamin C tacos. Very nice. Absolutely. The yeah, and this weather too has been spectacular. Like I don't know if you saw the the Hey Judy, how are you? You're all over the place this morning. Good to see you again. That we just had this morning. We have a group that comes in. Edie and Judy are a big part of it. Them that come in and make lunch once a month for the veterans in our community. That they support the Veterans Center down on Pine Street, and they were in this morning and they gave me a big old lunchtime feast, which I'm looking forward to. But they also take those over for struggling veterans in our community that they have a chance to get a hot meal. So it's a lunch is done and served. You guys are like it is like a machine down there. So it is great. It is such a great service um, that they might offer that community love, and that's which is you know and it takes a lot of forms, but it's not just about providing calories. It's about providing hope and providing caring and providing appreciation and being a witness to loving those in our midst. So, a great work, Judy and Edie and everybody who's a part of that. Um, yeah, no substitute for professional people. I know you guys are all old hands. Like, it is something to watch. Anyway, let's get going this morning. It is the first day of July. First day of July, 2021. Here we are on this Thursday at another 11:11, and I'm so glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're a part of this day. I'm glad you're a part of this journey. I want to talk. We've been talking kind of military stuff all week in some way or another. We talked about Cortez. We talked about some other stuff that was going on, and when you're on a theme, you're just on a theme. So we're going to touch that again today because today is actually the beginning of the battle of the anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg. It's the first, second, and third day of July, in 1863, which changed the tide of the American Civil War and the effort for freedom for all peoples in this country. That first and that it really culminates in these days, and in many ways it culminates in these next few days of fighting that would happen over the Pennsylvania countryside. And so I want to start us, though, with looking at the book of Hebrews. So the book of Hebrews is supposedly written by Paul, but it doesn't really fit with Paul because it's really well written, and Paul was not a great writer. And so, but it is actually of the books of Bible that that when it's read from a literary context, when people read that the book of Hebrews is considered a masterpiece. That's how it's described. And few other books of the Bible, if any, really are described that way. It has this incredible eloquence and beauty to it within the language that is used and just in the little quote that I'm going to have. But I want you to know that as we start out this morning, because whoever puts together, whether it's Paul or somebody, what scholars likely believe it was somebody who listened to Paul and then wrote what they heard Paul say through their own use of language, and they were whoever they were, whether it was Barnabas or some of the other, or Clement. Some people think they were really good at it. They were just, and so of the books of Bible, they all hold the status of Scripture. But this really holds the status of masterpiece. And what's interesting about it is that it's this letter to the people of the understanding is that it's to the people of Jerusalem who are under persecution. And that many of them are, they're in Jerusalem, so largely most of them are Jews, and they're Jews that converted to become Christians, and that who are going back to being Jews because being Christian is just too hard. That's the reality of it. It's just too hard, that because of the persecution that's being meted out on them. And when we say persecution, this is not like, somebody took my lunch money. This is ostracizing from society. This is jailed. This is killed. This is people are being. This is some of the early martyrdom that we see is in the Jerusalem church. So this is no joke what these people are contending with. And this masterpiece God provides for them. And I wanted to hear this quote. And I just love, because, and first I just wanted you to hear the backstory of this, because I really believe that's part of this whole story, is that when we're doing something hard, we're in the midst of hard things, when we're attempting hard things, I think there's a way that God matches us there, that God sends us a masterpiece to meet our challenges. So these are the words from Hebrews. He says, this is from the 12th chapter. He says, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. Is that not so beautiful? The pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross. Friends, you can do hard things. You can do hard things. There are challenges in your life that are waiting for you to take them up. There are things that are in your life that you're looking at right now that are not maybe simple, and they're certainly not easy, but they are challenges that have been set before you by the pioneer and the perfecter of faith. The one who has perfected all faith, the one who has pioneered the way to God, has set before you the entry into this hard thing, whatever it is, because we all have a hard thing to contend with in our life. It wouldn't be life if there wasn't a hard thing in the middle of it. And if there's not a hard thing in the middle of it, you're probably just kind of looking away enough just so that you don't see it. There is a contention within being alive that is, it is hard. There's a hardness in it. There's a difficulties that, and it is not that it's going to overwhelm us. It's not that it's going to crush us. It's not that, but this little line, for the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the Father. Can we scorn the shame of the things that we are called to take up? You know, a lot of times that's at the core of it. Is that, you know, we're just, you know, we're lazy bones, and we don't want to contend with being a lazy bones, and we're shamed of being our lazy bones. But there's and that in our shame we just like, I'd rather not scorn the shame. I'd rather not push it away. I'll just deal with it, because scorning it means lifting it up and looking at it. Scorning it means contending with it. Scorning it means going to battle against it. Carl Jung says that we cannot change anything unless we accept it. Nothing can change in our life until we first accept it. And here we are on the anniversary of the American Civil War's greatest battle, at least most pivotal battle, of the Battle of Gettysburg. And on this first day, the forces are being arrayed. They bump into each other in this passing engagement that will become this great battle. My grandmother's great-grandfather, so my relation, was on the second day, was tomorrow, at the Battle of Little Round Top with the 20th Maine Regiment. Now, the 20th Maine, this story has been told many times, but I want to tell it to you today because I want to remind you that you can do hard things, and that you come from people who have done hard things. If you are a professor of if you profess faith in Christ, if you're even toying with this idea that maybe there's something bigger going on than what I suspected, then you stand in the lineage, you stand among the saints, you stand among the angels, you stand among the Hebrews, you stand among Christ, who has done the hardest of things, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. Is that not such a great line? Who, for this joy set before him, endured the cross. There is joy set before you too. And it's going to mean, and that those things, those hard things that you're being called to, and you know this to be true, that the hard things are being called to are just not hard. They're not just fangs and teeth for the sake of being fangs and teeth, or fangs and claws. They're not just suffering for suffering's sake. That's actually the lie the devil will tell us, is that all suffering is just suffering for suffering's sake, that there's really no meaning behind any of it. There's really no redemption behind it. There's really no purpose behind any of it. That's not true. And you know it's not true if you look at your journey and you look at where you've come from, that those moments where you've done hard things and you've endured hard things, there's a joy that was set before them before you encountered that cross. There's a joy on the other side of them. This is the promise of the resurrection. on the second day of Gettysburg on tomorrow, as today the cavalry is engaging and trying to hold the high ground so that when the rest of the army arrives, they'll have some good ground to fight on. And John Buford does his job, and the Union Army manages to hold the high ground today in the fight, and they will. And many lives will be lost, and much will perish just on trying to hold a little bit of geography, so that when the rest of the Union Army shows up, they have a decent place to fight their enemy. And on the far, as the army that has marched all night arrives into Gettysburg, on the left hand, on the very extreme left, is this little knoll. I've been there numerous times. It's called Little Round Top, and there is a big Round Top, which is off in the distance. But this little knoll was the extreme left of the Union Army. It was the place all the way on the very edge of where the army stood. And they were placed there. The 20th Maine Regiment, my ancestors, stood on that ground and were given the command to hold that place. Because if they folded, all the rest of the entire Union line down would be compromised. That once they got on that ridge line, the rest of the army would be destroyed. Them holding that ground meant everything. Chamberlain arrived with just around 300 men. It's a small contingent. Got added, a few others added to along, and they held this. And in the distance, as they arrayed their defenses, they began to hear way down at the bottom of the hill the rebel yell of the Texans and the Alabamans. They had marched all morning to come around to that flank, and they meant to take it. It is said of the 20th Maine on that day, they fought like lions, that they fought until they were out of ammunition, that they had no more ammunition left, and they were about spent. They had many wounded men. They stood on the ground, red. The leaves rained down on them. They were in a small forest, and that the bullets overhead were raining leaves down upon them. Out of ammunition, with nowhere left to go behind him, Chamberlain made the decision to fix bayonets. He charged. Now, there's a great story about this, about whether or not that what happened in the midst of that charge, whether it happened, how it all went down. There's great controversy around that. But the bottom line is that on tomorrow, on 1863, the 20th of Maine fixed bayonets with no ammunition left in their weapons and charged down the hill at a much larger force of Texans and Alabamans. Now, what the boys from Maine did not know, what was not in their understanding, was that the Texans and the Alabamans had just marched through the oppressive heat of the second day of Gettysburg, of the second day of July in Pennsylvania, through Pennsylvania woods and rolling country, without any water. They were spent. And with the howling Yankees coming down the hill at them, they threw up their hands and surrendered. Friends, you can do hard things. You can do hard things when you think there is no hope left. You can do hard things when you are out of ammunition. You can do hard things by facing the very enemy that would destroy you, and if you must, engaging it face to face. Because there is a God that is working for you. And that as we fix our eyes on Jesus, as we fix our eyes on Christ, the pioneer and the perfecter of faith, the only mistake is to not hear the words of the masterpiece that is being written to us in our life, not to hear the words of the masterpiece that has been prepared for us, not to hear the words of the God that is working for us instead of working against us, the God that is conspiring all things for our success and our goodness and our elevation and our resurrection and our life, the God that is the perfecter of our faith, and who has not only endured the cross, but has set for us a joy in front of us that is so much bigger than anything we could ever imagine. You see, that's the real power of God's walk and God's invitation to us to enter into the struggles of our days, to enter into the facing of the hard things of our life, is that we can let go of our shame. We can let go. We can let go. We can scorn what is seemingly our embarrassment about the things that we can't keep straight. This is what makes them hard things, right? Isn't it? I mean, this is what makes life hard, is that if we had all the skills of all the people, we'd be able to organize all the things we needed to organize. We'd be able to be articulate enough to be able to talk about things. We'd be able to. We'd have the gumption to be able to get up and do the things we needed to do. But we're not that. We are carriers of sin. We're carriers of. We're not perfect. We're finite people, and that in that finitude is our shame. And dare we scorn it? Dare we scorn that shame, to simply say it is not for us, nor is it ours to carry, but it is ours to stand our post, to fight our battles, to, even in the midst of the moments when we think we have nothing left, but to charge in the face of the enemy that would seek to destroy us, and in doing so recognize that God has been with us and for us the entire time. There's a story that of when the Texans and the Alabamans surrender at the bottom of the hill, and the 20th Maine are coaxing them up the hill again. To be taken prisoner. One of the privates turns to Colonel Chamberlain and he says, he says, Colonel, as he's guarding half a dozen rebel soldiers, he says, Colonel, my rifle's unloaded, or my rifle's empty. And to which the colonel said, that's all right, son, just don't say that too loud. Do not worry if you feel like your rifle is unloaded. Do not worry if you hold at the face of the bayonet the things that you think are going to destroy you, that are going to jump you in the night. Don't give that voice. Don't say that too loud to yourself. Not that the devil will discover you, but that simply that you will undermine the masterpiece of power and grace and goodness that God is writing into your life. Fix your eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and the perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Come and sit with the one who made you. Come and sit with Christ Jesus, who calls you home to his table. Come and know that you can do hard things in this world with a God that is conspiring for you, not against you, who has an enemy that seems so large and yet is way more worn out than you ever thought you could be. who has pioneered and perfected your faith already so that you have a place in this world, that you have a place at God's table, so that you have a strength and a power to do all good and hard things that Christ would set before you, so that you might know the joy set before them. My hope for you is you know the joy today, friends. You know the joy of doing hard things. All right, friends. That's my hope for you today. I am so glad each one of you are here. I'm so glad you've been a part of this. You continue to be a part of this journey. We do have worship on Sunday. Remember, our July and August worship is going to 9 a.m. So to give us a little more of the day and to get us a little ahead of the warmth in the sanctuary. So I'm excited we're going to worship on the 4th of July. How often do you get to do that? How cool is that going to be? So, hey, the parades don't start till later. Don't worry. So 9 a.m. Sunday morning, we'll begin our summer worship series. I hope all of you have a great and grand holiday, and we will pick up our next 11:11 next Tuesday. All right, peace and grace, my friends.